Is social media affecting your mental health? When you think of social media, you probably think of people posting about their lives in some respect. It could be a highly edited photograph that someone puts on Instagram, a political opinion on Twitter, or a life update on Facebook, or even a YouTube video. It could be a quick TikTok dance or even an instant message on WhatsApp. There's so many different versions of social media nowadays. Most adults do report using some form of social media, and for kids, they really haven't known life without it. So this question of how social media is affecting our mental health seems incredibly vital. But before we get into that, let me quickly go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Dr. Sherry. I am an expert in social and personality psychology, and here at my channel, we talk about all sorts of fun things related to psychology, whether it's personality psychology, relationships, well-being, mental health. If it's interesting and it's within my wheelhouse of knowledge, I might just go ahead and do a little bit of research on it and make one of these fun psychology videos for you. So does social media affect our mental health? Well, the answer is, unfortunately, it depends. I know the really frustrating answer that you often get in science is it depends, but it's definitely true in the case of social media use. Now, if I had to make a broad generalization, which is never a great idea in psychology, but I'm going to do it for the sake of you guys. Largely speaking, what the research finds is that using social media more frequently is connected to worse mental health outcomes. So this includes things like having worse life satisfaction, so just not being as satisfied with your life, experiencing more negative types of emotions and fewer positive emotions, and just being less happy, generally speaking. But this is a correlational finding, which means it's an association. So there is an association between using social media more frequently and worse mental health. But it does not mean that using social media frequently will cause you to have worse mental health. There are some people for whom using social media frequently does not impact their mental health, and some people may actually benefit from using social media. This tends to be a subject where, just looking at the research, there is a lot of nuance. We need to understand why someone is using a social media platform, what they're getting out of it, if they are in control of their use, and factors such as those. When does social media use tend to be the most problematic? Well, what the research shows is that this negative relationship tends to only exist when certain social media use problems also exist. First and foremost, if you have a lack of control over how much you are using social media, if you just compulsively scroll through Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, then it's probably going to be negatively impacting your mental health because you're not managing how and when you're using the platform. There are also individuals who suffer from an addiction to social media, so it's completely out of their control. They may be getting a so-called high from various aspects of social media, whether it's gaining more followers, getting likes on a post or a video. Something about the platform that they're doing is giving them a thrill or a high. But the problem here is that it becomes harder and harder to continually get that feeling. And you keep needing more and more social affirmation from others to make you feel good about yourself, which is just really unhealthy in the first place. And eventually, over time, it just becomes almost impossible. Another big issue with social media is social comparisons, and it's something that I think most of us do without even realizing it when we're on social media. On social media, we are usually bombarded with pictures and images and updates from people who are trying to show you their best. People don't generally post when they're not doing their best, when they're feeling bad about themselves or they're not looking their best. It's always the best things in life, right? The fancy vacation that somebody went on, the beautiful new home that they bought. They're always showing you the most socially acceptable side of themselves. You're not seeing all the other stuff. So on social media, nothing is truly real. This isn't real life. People are cherry picking what they're showing you. And even though we know that this is the case, we are still susceptible to this issue of social comparison on social media. So if we're doing this too much, where we keep comparing ourselves to others who appear to be doing better than us, it can negatively impact our mental health. Social media use also tends to be more of a concern for people who care a lot about what others think. So if you are someone who is very concerned with how others perceive you, using social media too much is probably a bad idea, because you're going to be more likely to fall victim to all of the problems that I just mentioned, and probably to a worse extent compared to other people. If you are an influencer, unfortunately, you are more susceptible to this because social affirmation and people following you and subscribing to you is your job. This magical number on a social media platform somehow dictates your own self-worth. It dictates how much people like you, how popular you are, how successful you are at your business, and so on and so forth. And a major issue here is that, well, obviously that's a really unhealthy mentality to have, but that number is also not real. It is an illusion. It is relative to others. So one day, 1,000 followers might be amazing, incredible. You're one of the top on your platform. But 10 years from now, well, 1,000 followers is nothing. Like, I can do that in my sleep, right? Now it's 100,000 followers that you need to really be one of the top people. So that number, that magical number that you need to somehow have made it, is constantly moving around, and you'll never really get there. The game never ends, and it can really warp your sense of your own self-worth and what it means to be successful. Now, on the flip side, there is good news here. Social media is not going to be a problem for everyone. There are plenty of people out there who use social media every single day, multiple platforms, and their mental health will not be negatively impacted by it. So here are some more positive attributes to look out for. First off, you are in control of your use. You understand how you're using social media, you're making sure it's not becoming a compulsion or an addiction, you feel like you're in control, you're not noticing any harmful side effects, and so on. Secondly, you try to avoid those really nasty upward social comparisons. Your feed is not overwhelmed by these highly edited or filtered photographs or pictures of those really annoying friends who just always seem to be buying new stuff and making you feel bad when you don't make enough money or whatever it might be. You don't dwell on braggy stories from people or what other people have that you don't have. You fill your feed with things that are positive, that make you feel good, and other stuff, you just get rid of that. Another positive attribute is that you don't care that much about what other people think. Maybe you care about what your family and friends think about you, but random strangers on the internet, whatever, you can take them or leave them. You let things kind of roll off your back, it's not that big of a deal to you. In fact, for people who have trouble socializing and making friends in real life, social media can actually improve your mental health if it's helping you form those so important social connections. This is because on social media, you have vast access to all sorts of different types of people, and generally speaking, socializing on the internet is a lot more impersonal. You have a screen in front of you, not a real person, so you can kind of think about what you want to say more. This can be less pressure for someone who struggles understanding social cues or just making friends with people in real life. It can also be really helpful for someone who just doesn't have access to a lot of people that they like in their area. They're still able to make friends and form social bonds. Or if you're really far away from your family, social media could also be a really great way for you to stay in touch with them, thereby buffering your mental health. So it's not always bad news when it comes to social media use. So if you think that social media is impacting your mental health in a negative way, there are some things that you can do right now to help yourself. What one study found is that taking a 1-week break from social media, and this included things like Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, improved people's mental health to a significant degree. Just after 1 week, that's all it took, just taking a break. Now the caveat here was that the people who participated in the study were already motivated to quit social media. So these were people who recognized that for whatever reason, social media was negatively impacting their lives, and they were ready to try something to improve their mental health. If this sounds like you, then I definitely encourage you to give this a go and see if just taking a break for a week or two makes a difference. If you are not seeing an issue with your social media use, if you don't believe that this is connected to mental health issues, reducing your social media use might not actually be the best idea according to research. If you are getting social benefits or psychological benefits from being on social media, if it is actually improving your mental health, then stopping social media for a week could result in you being less satisfied with your life and more lonely. So take this advice with a grain of salt. Really recognize, is social media use hurting me or is it helping me, before you decide whether you should take a break. Like with many other things in life, this is not a one-size-fits-all situation. For some people, social media is the devil. You should not use it. While for other people, social media use is absolutely fine. Just try not to let it get to unhealthy levels and make sure that you are in control of your use. So that about wraps things up. Let me know in the comments down below how social media use has affected your mental health. Do you find that it tends to improve your mental health? Do you find positive social benefits from social media? Or is it the opposite, and social comparisons and just compulsive use are kind of making you feel down? Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, if you found it helpful and informative. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. Most of you on YouTube are not subscribed, and you totally should be, so make sure you hit that red button down below. Oh, and if you like this video, check out this one next. It's about how to improve your productivity, which is definitely something we should all be doing instead of staying on social media all day long.